All right. I am still in New Orleans, last day. We're leaving this afternoon. I am in St. Louis Cemetery number 3. St. Louis Cemetery number 3 is the third cemetery called St. Louis Cemetery in New Orleans. It was opened in 1854. It's the newest of the 3. We did a tour of the other one, the first one, which was in like 1730 something. This one is much newer, but it's a similar style, so we're going to take a look at that. It's one of these above ground cemeteries. All of the tombs are above ground. So we're going to flip the phone and we're going to go through this a little bit and walk through it some. So this is St. Louis Cemetery number 3. It goes all the way back there. It's a very narrow, it only goes straight across like this. And but it goes way back there. So I don't know if we'll walk the whole thing, but we'll go back over here in the corner. Like I said, it was opened in 1854, and it is almost entirely above ground tombs. Several reasons for that. Among the more obvious reasons is New Orleans floods. Almost all of these older cemeteries, during Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Ida, and some of these more destructive and big hurricanes, they flood. So, I mean, some of the cemeteries where people are, underground and they flood bad enough, the bodies pop up. And that's not what you want. So, a lot of these New Orleans cemeteries here in the flood area, anyway, are above ground. There's also, the way these cemeteries work, and let's see, this one here, this one died 1918, 1907... 1986, 1992. So, I mean, this is still an active cemetery. There could be a funeral going on today. But the way these tombs work, and this fascinates the shit out of me, the way these tombs work is this part here, about from here up, is a tomb. You slide the body in and close it back up. The way these things are designed to work is they're designed to be multi-generational ones. And when we did the tour of the first St. Louis Cemetery, we saw one that was permanently closed. But the way these things are designed to work is they're supposed to be multi-generational tombs. You can have 5, 6, 7 generations of family members in one of these tombs. It'd be that guy living right next to this cemetery. And the way it works is there's a stone slab in there, and then from here up is what you would expect. The door up is what you would expect. It's a slab, and you put the body on the slab, and you close it back up. From here down is a open area, and it gets hot in New Orleans. It's humid in New Orleans, and you put a body in one of these tombs. It's a warm, hot, damp, dark place. And that has the effect of reducing these bodies down to its base elements pretty fast. Within 6 months or a year, you don't have much left of that body. And then what they do is they have a big, long pole or a broom, and they put the body in a bag, and they close up the bag. And over, the next 6 months to a year, the body breaks down, and it's mostly dust at that point. You have opening on the back and the sides of the slab where the body lays. You get this 10-foot pole with a broom attached to it, and this is where the phrase "wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole" comes from. And when you're ready, like let's say, for example, Neil passed away. And then, was that 7, 10, 12, 13 years later, Joseph passes away. So Neil's been in there for a while. Neil passes away. He's been in this tomb. It's been hot and dark and moist and damp for, several, 10, 15 years, whatever that is, 13 years. So when it's time to put Joseph in there, there's not much left of Neil. It's basically just a bag with some dust in it. They will take this 10-foot pole and they will push Neil, basically just push Neil off of the slab into the bottom part. So in this particular one, this whole lower area is just an open area, and they push him off and he just falls down in there, and then they slide Joseph in there. And now there's room for Joseph. And I assume since 2024, Joseph's been in there. If somebody else passes away from this family that owns this particular tomb, they will push Joseph off the end of the slab or push Joseph off to the side or wherever they need to do to get him to fit down in the bottom. And I forget what this is called, but that's how you end up with these smaller tombs being multi-generational. On the tour we took at St. Louis Cemetery number 1, they said you can fit 15, 20 people before one of these tombs has to be closed permanently. These are all run by the Archdiocese of New Orleans. All these cemeteries, all 3 of these St. Louis cemeteries. But one of these tombs can run you up to $30,000 or $40,000. So if you're going to spend that kind of money on it, you're going to want to be able to put, lots of your family members in here. So actually, there's quite a few folks in this one. I'm not sure what I'm reading here. The dates on this one are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. May 11th, 1905, March 1st, 1986. I'm not sure what that all means. If all those people were buried at the same time or what that is. This may be a situation where these people were moved from another cemetery to this cemetery. And then starting in 1989, you have other people been buried. Anyway, so we're going to take a little walk through this cemetery and we're going to look at some of these graves. But you've got, and I don't see any here. And these all look like they're in relatively good shape, so maybe it's part of your fee now. In the older cemetery, oh, here's one. Here's one. What that means is that these people, this family, paid extra for the Archdiocese to maintain this tomb. They'll clean it, they'll repair it, they'll make sure it looks nice. And it's perpetual, it's forever. It's a one-time fee. They talked about this on the other tour. And some of these other ones that don't look maybe so hot, the family's in charge of that. So, if you don't have a lot of family going to be left to want to take care of a tomb like this, might be worth the money to pop out for the perpetual care. So this tomb right here, the church, the Archdiocese, will take care of that indefinitely. For as long as the Archdiocese is a thing, I guess. In the older cemeteries, and there's some older ones here, but in the older cemeteries, some of those tombs that did not have the perpetual care look really rough. And here's another one. Some of those tombs in the older cemeteries were little more than piles of rubble. But by the time that happens, all the people inside are basically dust. And there really isn't much to see. Wow, that's kind of elaborate. But this one does not have perpetual care, so as you can tell, it's getting kind of beat up a little bit. Family A. David. Are these are not real flowers. They look like they've been out here a hot minute. But it goes all the way back there. And some of them are in better shape than others. Here's another one that's kind of beat up. And this one, I don't know. Can we read any of the dates on this? But this is the Dufour family. And 1918. 1937. 1937. So this one has got some, did not have perpetual care. This one, on the other hand, does have perpetual care. So anyway, I'm going to take a little walk through here. And back in the day when New Orleans was being tore up by yellow fever, they decided, I don't know if they had any science behind this or if they just decided that this was how it was going to be. They said that once you put a body in the tomb, had to stay in there for a year and a day. And you couldn't open the tomb for, someone passes away and you put them in one of these tombs. Had to stay closed for a year and a day. And the idea was that they thought at the time, turns out they were wrong, they thought at the time that expanding gases from decomposing bodies was possibly one of the ways that yellow fever was passed around. And they thought that a year and a day, bodies, all the gases are gone and you can open the tomb without getting yellow fever, which yellow fever comes from mosquitoes, which we know now. We did not know that then. But in the meantime, if someone happened to pass away and you couldn't open the tomb because it had only been 6 months or whatever, that's what the original purpose of these wall vaults was for. So let's say Bertha dies in 1944, can't open the tomb till December 20th, 1945, but somebody dies in the meantime. Well, in the meantime, you would put that person in the wall. And then when a year and a day passed, you could take them out of the wall and put them in here. So this is a big one. At the St. Louis Cemetery number 1, they showed us a tomb that was permanently closed because it was full. This one has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. 10 people in this tomb. I would think that there isn't much room left in the bottom of this tomb for more, I guess, piles of dust at this point. Perpetual care. Oh, yeah, this is how they do it in New Orleans. It's big and there's a lot of tombs, but when you consider that every tomb has multiple people in it, it's actually, there's probably at least tens of thousands, probably not hundreds of thousands. I think the one we toured the other day, number 1, the oldest one, I think they said there was 20,000 people buried in that cemetery. And it was probably a quarter the size of this one. I mean, this one is twice. This one goes all the way back there. And the other one was like a block, not even a block, I don't think. So it looks like this is obviously relatively new. This mausoleum, 2018, 2016, 2020. These are all relatively new. This is a relatively new construction. This obviously wasn't built in 1854. This might have been. And it gets wider as it goes back. So now it's all the way over into there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows. Interesting idea. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 people in it. And there's probably one sitting on the slab, which after however many years this has been, not much left of them. The rest of them are all underneath, down there. And it does not have perpetual care, so it's getting a little janky looking. It's not looking its best. So if you're thinking about doing one of these tombs, you might want to think about the perpetual care. The lady at the one who did the tour at the first cemetery said that perpetual care cost $2,500. And I don't know if that's the current day price or if that was a historical price. But I think, especially if that's current day money, that's a steal. To not have your shit looking like this, 30 years after you die. Well, I guess this was 1994 was the last time somebody was buried in this one. I bet it's expensive to get this engraved, a name engraved on there. So then you're looking at, they did this instead. Ooh, these guys had a bad run, didn't they? 2021 was a very bad year for them. Man. Okay. Yeah. And they've got these on the steps here. And this one does have perpetual care. Yeah, I think that if I were going to do something like this, I would definitely pop for the perpetual care so that my shit doesn't look like this. Because this doesn't look very good. And this is, well, actually, these guys, last person was put in here in 2012. But if you think about it, if you're a family member, you got somebody in one of these tombs, you got our family and you got, people in one of these tombs, you probably got to come out here. When it gets to this point, I don't even know what the hell you do. There's cracks. You'd have to do some serious work on this thing. But if you want to try to avoid it getting to this situation, if you're not going to get the perpetual care, you're going to be out here, every couple months, power washing it, making sure it's not cracked, patching cracks. You end up being a stonemason, or you end up being a bricklayer, and pass. Just give me the perpetual care. We have a couple different kinds over here, but these are still above ground. Now these are obviously, they're buried, but they're still above ground, and they're not buried very deep, because this is a slab that these are sitting on. There were a couple of these at the other cemetery, and she said, no, they're just buried under a couple, 3 feet, just enough. So yeah, I mean, you can't really bury them below ground, because though as often as this town floods, you'll end up with your bodies floating around the town. There are all sorts of stories of the various hurricanes coming through historically over the years, and having bodies floating all over the place. Some of these may also be ones that have fallen down. Like this one looks like it might have been one that fell down. 1989 though. I mean, but if you don't have the perpetual care and your shit falls down, they're not going to let it fall down and hurt somebody and, damage other tombs. They're going to probably not take it down. This looks like it's been out here for a while. This might have been on the front of the tomb, and they knocked the rest of it down, and this whole dirt thing here, like underneath this dirt, they put a layer of dirt on top of all the bags of dust and whatever was left of the people that were in the under part of the tomb when it was a tomb. Perpetual care. I do think that's the way to go. If you're gonna get yourself buried in a tomb like this, I think that perpetual care thing is the absolute way to go. This is pretty elaborate and pretty old and pretty dirty. And if I had family members in a tomb like this, I mean, I know myself, I'm not coming out here every couple months, every 3 months to clean it, spend a day power washing it, scrubbing it, cleaning it. I mean, before power washers, you were out here with brushes, and you had your kids and your family. You probably had to have them, aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody else out here, trying to make this cemetery, trying to make these tombs look nice. We're doing some landscaping over there. I can see why people wouldn't want to do that and would just say, yeah, church, you take care of it. And the church probably has the equipment, and they have the people, and they have the manpower. This one here, the front plate has fallen off of, and somebody just went and scratched a cross into it. We have no idea. Now, the church probably knows. The church keeps pretty good records of this, of who's buried and what, but you have no idea from looking at this who's buried there, because the faceplate has fallen off of it. Oh, this is a kid. December 16, 2011, August 28, 2013. Yeah, it looks like he may have been that's not Pokemon, is that Yu-Gi-Go? I think that's Yu-Gi-Go. It looks like they have left some stuff here for him. So yeah, this is St. Louis Cemetery number 3. Like I said, there's 3 St. Louis cemeteries, all run by the Archdiocese. There are several other cemeteries of various sizes and shapes in various parts of the city. Almost all of them have some variation on this. Very few bodies in New Orleans are buried underground. It's just not safe. It's not safe for the people under the ground who end up popping back up the next time the town floods. It's not safe for the people that have to go around picking up all these dead bodies that popped out of the ground next time it floods. So anyway, like this one here, this is obviously new, and this is probably the way they do it now, as opposed to doing these individual standing tombs. They just do a big mausoleum complex thing like this, and then they put you in here. And this is also how you keep from popping out of the ground when it floods. These people are relatively recent, 2021, 2005, 2012, but there's a lot of people still coming checking these out. And you don't have to do a lot of cleaning on this. You probably don't need perpetual care here, because it's just in the wall. I assume the Archdiocese takes care of the roof and everything. As you can see all the way down there's a whole bunch more of these kind of tombs. So anyway, that is St. Louis Cemetery number 3. Third cemetery called St. Louis Cemetery. In New Orleans, and this is the most recent, the newest. It's also the only one you can walk in without a tour guide. The other two are not open for the public. You can take a tour of number one, a guided tour. You can't get in there. Number one has most of the famous people in there. Number one has the grave of Homer Plessy. If you're familiar with the Supreme Court, Kate Plessy versus Ferguson was a major anti-slavery Supreme Court case in the early 1800s. Marie Laveau, who was the voodoo queen of New Orleans, kind of a scam artist a little bit. Who else is buried in that number one? There was a couple. First mayor of New Orleans is in there. And strangely enough, there's a tomb in there. I took some pictures of it. If you go back and look on my Facebook, there's pictures of it. A pyramid-shaped tomb that was bought and built in 2005 and is the future resting place of Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage has lived in this city on and off for several years, and he has chosen to be buried here. So in Nicolas Cage goes, he's going to be buried in a pyramid-shaped tomb that looks a lot like these behind me in New Orleans. And then there's this one. This is the newest one. It's still active. There's still active burials. The other two, not really so much. They're basically full up unless you have, you own one of those tombs and you still have room in the bottom to push a body into. But for the most part, I think those are relatively close. But there's a lot of them in the town. A lot of them are still active, including this one. And yeah, interesting what you see when you go places where it floods all the time. So have a good day, everyone. All right, so I turned the camera back on for one more thing. This behind me, we'll go around the front here and look at it in a minute. This behind me, this is called a society tomb. Community tomb, I think, is another word for it. They don't use them very much anymore. This one looks like it might be a little bit older, but it's one of the newer ones, I think. This is a society tomb, and it looks like it might be some sort of religious order. When you first come, back in the 1800s, you would come to a place like New Orleans. A lot of times you didn't have any money. You were coming here looking for a fresh start. You didn't know a whole lot of people, but you were Spanish, you were French, you were a Mason, you were Catholic, you were one of the Knights of Columbus, one of those kind of things. When you come down here, you would join up with different social clubs, the Masons society, the Freemasons societies. And as part of your membership in those things, if you chose, you could be buried in what was called a society tomb. You didn't have any family here. You didn't have enough money to afford one of these for yourself. So you would chip your money in and join one of these clubs, one of these groups, church groups, whatever, and they would bury you in their community tomb. And that's actually, it does say right here, Hellenic Orthodox community. So this is Greek Orthodox, I would assume. And this is probably people who are not related by blood. What was that? A pretty big ass beetle. These are people that are probably not related by blood. And it looks like they've even got a broom and a dustpan over there in the corner. So it looks like it's maintained probably by the society, the people in the Greek Orthodox group. And most of the names, now that I'm looking at it, Skophalos, Kapowalks, clearly a Greek. That's actually Greek lettering. That's why I'm having such a hard time reading it. Degolu, Kalenos. This is a Greek community tomb. And the people are probably not related by blood. They probably individually could never afford a tomb like this, or one of these other, individual family tombs. Either they don't have the family, they don't have the money. These people are all relatively recently deceased, but this practice goes back. We saw one that's got perpetual care. We saw these in the first cemetery that were built in the 1730s. There was a Mason one of the Masons. There was some Italian group. There were a couple different French groups. I think the Knights of Columbus, the Catholic order, Knights of Columbus had a society or a community tomb. And that's what this is. This is a Greek Orthodox Society tomb. Cross over here. This is a Greek Orthodox Society tomb, and it is absolutely huge. And probably individually, none of the people in there could have afforded a tomb like this. But when they pooled their resources in life, now they're able to have a relatively remarkable tomb in death. And it looks like it is being cared for because it has the perpetual care thing, and there is actually a broom and a dustpan in there. So I'd be willing to bet that still living members of that society come out here on a semi-regular basis and just sweep out the tomb and make sure everything looks nice. And then you've got the Archdiocese that comes out here, which is interesting that the Archdiocese has a Greek Orthodox tomb in its cemetery, but I mean, here it is. So anyway, just another interesting thing.